Without a shadow of a doubt, you ain't got what it takes anymore. You sat there and thumped your Bible and you say your prayers and it doesn't get you anywhere. You could talk about your Psalms and you could talk about your John 3:16. Well, the Cheap Heat champion just whooped your ass. Welcome to another night of podcasting. We got a smaller panel with the Cheap Heat champions, brought to you by So What's the Catch? And let me tell you, we're about to talk about the Royal Rumble tonight, my friends. Over the weekend, WWE celebrated its 37th Rumble in St. Petersburg, Florida, and my, were the results juicy? I mean, we had massive returns, promotional crossovers from TNA, upsets, silly, goofy wrestling, and an overall just kind of goofy, fun time. But personally, I thought the Rumble itself was kind of mid. They could have done a little bit more, but I'll allow the panel to spill the details. Rollins, what was the higher point of your Rumble evening?
So I only got to see the men's Royal Rumble because I was working the Cleveland Monsters game that night. Um, but from what I saw, it was just kind of meh. There weren't really any big surprises. Everybody knew Andrade was going to be there. Everybody knew that Naomi was going to be there. Um, I'm not going to get into the reason Braun Breaker took the spot of Brock Lesnar because personally, I just don't feel comfortable talking about all that stuff. I know you guys are going to get into it at a later date, but
Possibly even tonight on a smaller scale.
but
Out of respect for the community, I think it goes to mention that, we committed last week to kind of dissecting the Vincent McMahon thing, and obviously the expose had a direct impact on the success of Royal Rumble, not just in terms of the function itself, but also everything that happened post press and throughout the weekend. But yeah, man, the women's rumble was fantastic. The men's rumble was kind of, man, you're not wrong. It was kind of, the men's rumble was kind of lackluster. Other than the finale, I kind of saw everything else coming. But there's also speculation that CM Punk knew he was injured and they placated into that for the ending. Rollins, do you think that was the case?
well, first of all, I love this comment by Thomas French. If Brock's downfall finally gets Braun Breaker on the main roster, I'm all for it. As am I. I have been wanting Braun Breaker to be on the main roster. Once the Bobby Lashley, Bray Wyatt stuff fell through at WrestleMania, can't hear you, Shane.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Uh, Once the Bobby Lashley, Bray Wyatt, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt stuff fell through at WrestleMania, I would have loved it if they would have called Braun Breaker up to the main roster and they did that match at WrestleMania. I think that would have been a fantastic non-title singles match. Instead, all they had Bobby Lashley do was just come out with his Andre the Giant Battle Royal trophy and just celebrate. I'm like, you could have given Bobby Lashley a match against Braun Breaker, but that's besides the point. Um, yeah. One of my biggest issues with this year's Royal Rumble was the lack of NXT talent. Um, we had Tiffany Stratton, we had Roxanne Perez, we had Braun Breaker, but other than that, nobody else that I can think of from NXT. Like in years past, we've had 3, 4, 5 members from NXT. I would have liked Trick. Oh, and Carmelo Hayes was there from NXT, but I would have loved Trick Williams to be in the Royal Rumble. The NXT Women's Champion Lyra Valkyria, she should have been in the Rumble. Blair Davenport, she would have been a great name in the Royal Rumble. Fallon Henley, she just beat Tiffany Stratton. How come she wasn't in the Royal Rumble? Von Wagner, how come he wasn't in the Royal Rumble? I could keep going on and on, but that was my biggest issue. Like the NXT people, um, they should have gotten more of a rub. And again, I have to highlight what Thomas French said and agree with him. I'm glad they didn't lean on past legends and just went with the roster, but I would have loved more NXT talent.
Well, WWE pulled an old bait and switch throughout the week. They came out and said, "Oh, we'll have the Undertaker present. We'll have Hulk Hogan present." Hulk Hogan alluded to on Monday, "Will I be in the Rumble?" I wouldn't have given a good goddamn if he did. You could leave him off of all WWE media, and I'll be happy as a clam. I'm sick of seeing him. Why give a dude with his past and background a platform, right? But again, I want to go back to the women's, man. Like in terms of taking risks and story and continuity, they really gave the women their day in court. We had Jade Cargill stepping up to the plate, taking down Bianca Belair. We had, I mean, and Nia
They're gonna
Jax.
do that match at WrestleMania. Absolutely. That spot where they both Bianca and Jade had like other wrestlers in the air and they're just
Uh,
staring at each other. You're like,
I mean,
oh, they're
who
doing that match at Mania.
Well, I mean, like WWE had an opportunity to take that story and run with it. And for the first time in the history of the Fed, they actually did. They took this woman who was a rock star from another promotion and came in and elevated her beyond from where she was at. And I can't say this enough. I know there are a lot of people in the dichotomy of professional wrestling fandom that want to pick a side. I would have loved to see Jade in the main title scene in AEW, but everything they could do for her in WWE is better than than what she had going on over in AEW, and good for her. And to put her in a program immediately with Nia Jax, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair is great for her. And they did not skimp. And I was happy to see Bayley go over. Bayley's one of my favorite women's wrestlers in WWE. Love a good heel, love a woman with a bad attitude. Ask my wife. Um, that's just me. But let's move on over to Wolf. I mean, like Wolf, I know you probably didn't intake too much of WWE media over the weekend with all of the most recent news, but do you have an opinion on the Rumble that you'd like to put out there?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go back to Rollins's point. He made a great point. There were a lot of omissions from the Women's Royal Rumble, but yet they reached out and branched out to feature those slots for Impact wrestlers, which is kind of odd or interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
they
why
brought
would
in the
they?
TNA World Champion Jordan Grace.
Yeah, like why would they use that spot for an outside performer when you have a whole, you know, platform or development system to kind of build your new stars? But I'll digress there. It is interesting to me that WWE allowed Jade Cargill and Andrade to keep their names, and also their theme music was very very much, if not identical, to their AEW themes, which is kind of strange. That's almost very uncharacteristic of WWE. Um, okay, so Thomas French is saying they have to use some TNA with the Endeavor partnership. I mean, I guess they want that partnership to be healthy and sustain. So this is I guess a good time to feature the TNA Women's Champion. Um, I didn't really watch the whole match. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch the whole event at all. I'm a little soured at this time with WWE with all the news. Um, and I haven't really been an active fan for years. Like I'll watch it and I'll watch it especially to kind of chime in on these pods. But yeah, I just had a real difficult time thinking about the Royal Rumble this weekend, and I really had no interest in like seeing the results, to be honest with you.
And that's a
Um,
fair point, Wolf. And I respect that. By the way, Shane, as of right now, I've heard that SummerSlam is probably coming here um, to Cleveland. So it would probably be at Cleveland Brown Stadium, although that has not yet been confirmed. Um,
The rumors are a buzz. I mean, if a WWE PLE comes to Cleveland, you know where we're going to be front and center.
I don't know if I would go because of my phobia of pyrotechnics and WWE at an outdoor stadium. Probably not a good mix for me,
yeah,
but
if Cody's going to be there, you might want to avoid.
oh no, WWE in general at stadium shows likes to go over the top with fireworks and all
Yeah,
that. So
Well, I wanted to touch on Wolf in a comment that he made. I feel the same exact way. Right now, it's hard to intake any W. I watched Raw. Obviously, you guys know me. Like, even if there is a part of the product that I'm not happy with, whether it's within the ring or outside of it, I tend to generally intake the media just so I'm informed. But like, I'll tell you what, I am soured in recently, especially in intake. I mean, it's hit after hit after hit, and this in these past 6 months, the WWE just can't seem to not stay out of the light of controversy, and this most recent batch of affairs, especially worse. We're going to talk about, we're planning on something within the community in terms of podcasting for that, but we're going to talk about that later here in the event. Again, to highlight the Rumble, I think putting over Bailey was absolutely amazing. Cody Rhodes, good for him. I still don't think he's going to finish his story. We're getting 2K24 with an unfinished story mode, which, great. In terms of the Braun Breaker thing, Rollins, the great. I thought that the men's Royal Rumble was mid. I felt that the women's absolutely showed up to the fucking party, which was incredible. But while we're sticking with things that happened during the Rumble, following the Rumble, we got the news that CM Punk incurred yet another injury, torn tricep, something that he incurred over in AEW, um, preventing him from living up the dream of main eventing WrestleMania, which WWE came out and said that he was going to, and now he's not. Post injury, that they put out this big press release. It's not happening. Sorry, guys. Now there's a lot of working pieces in play in regard to the unfortunate news. My favorite being a meme with Drew McIntyre that he posted himself last night, throwing a peace sign in front of a gravestone that said CM Punk's WrestleMania dreams. I mean, like honestly, the petty in me wants to be like, hey, fuck Phil Brooks. Congratulations, you've reaped what you sown. Karma came back and bit you in the ass, dude. I don't want to see anyone be injured, even a complete asshole like him. And how he's touched these companies, but have Drew have done it after, after after what was it?
Poetic.
It's
Yeah.
poetic.
Yeah, it is kind of poetic justice. Let me just say this really quick on the Vince McMahon stuff. I hope AEW tomorrow night on Dynamite, I hope like nobody comes out in their promo and says anything about it. Like Wolf and I were
I don't
talking
think.
about that before the show.
Agreed.
I hope
Yeah.
if
What's there to
Swerve cuts
say?
a promo, for example, I don't want him to say anything about it. Or if Samoa Joe, our AEW World Champion, cuts a promo, don't say anything about it. The one person who especially should not say anything
Here
about it,
goes
though,
Max
Chris
Caster.
Jericho.
Not Max Caster.
Well, okay, Max Caster is another name, but I was thinking Chris Jericho, given his current situation.
I mean, oh God, we were on Punk and now we're backtracking.
Yeah, let's get back on Punk for
No,
a
I
minute.
just wanted to throw that in.
He had to make the Jericho gentleman out of respect.
Yeah.
The Jericho thing was a clear-cut case of the WWE troll farms attempting to poison another promotion. You have at this point we have all of the information on that, right? Hausman is a known bullshit bullshit vendor. He's been ousted for fucking bullshitting other aspects of the news in regards to AEW. I want, in terms of the Vince McMahon, the news, we have enough evidence to corroborate the idea that he did what he's being accused of, as opposed to Chris Jericho, where they had zero evidence. As a matter of fact, the person that had been accused of assaulting came out and said nothing happened. And then Nick Hausman backtracked and said, "Well, I was only implying," like a fucking cuck.
He didn't
And
even say that. He said that our interpretation of what he said was wrong. He was full of shit, man. Like completely full of shit, and he completely. It was just obvious. He was full of shit. He got called out, and then he couldn't even backtrack. He just tried to like change whatever.
Well, I mean, shame on you, internet wrestling community. Like, for real.
How
Like,
dare
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm gonna say it, plain as day. Like, you WWE tribalists are like the worst. You're like the people that were brainwashed by Germany during the World War. Like, think for yourselves. Look at the big grander picture. Look at the evidence. Don't come chasing people for no reason. And listen, I get it. Like, for every abuser out there out in the wild, fuck you, go to hell, burn in hell. You deserve every bad thing coming to you. But to falsely accuse someone of something so egregious when they're, they're not doing anything harmful to anyone other than portraying an asshole on television, like I'm an asshole in real life. like I'm not. Chris Jericho's the nicest guy in real life, and here I am, yelling at my kids every day. Like, it just fucking it flabbergasts me that people are so deluded and empty-minded not to come to the conclusion on their own by looking at the information instead of looking at some fucking prick like Hausman and just running with whatever he says because they favor a promotion. Shut the fuck up forever.
Anyway, getting back to Punk, though.
Also, fuck CM Punk. Back to Punk. So,
yeah, I mean, Thomas French said it. Like, what's weird is the Future Shock DDT that McIntyre hit on Punk didn't look botched. It just looked like Punk fell on his arm wrong. But
Punk's made of glass. The
yeah,
real question is he made of real glass?
he might be.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, he should just retire, because every time he's tried to make a comeback, either he gets in trouble and gets suspended, or he gets injured and he's out for several months. It's always one of the two. Like, he was the AEW World Champion. What happened? Out with an injury. Becomes world champion again. Hurts his foot. And all that shit.
He torn his
Yeah.
tricep back then too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then you also had everything with, Brawl Out.
go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rollins. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, you're good.
But I got a lot to say about
Go
CM
ahead.
Punk. So, first and foremost, as soon as I saw Punk, I did tune in Raw I only watched the opening segment with Punk. But as soon as I tuned in Raw and I started seeing the tears, I was like, oh my God. He's literally playing his greatest hits from AEW. Like, he had some really good moments in AEW. He made some really good music there, laid down some really good tracks, and he just all he's done in WWE is just re-release those same songs on a greatest hits album. And they're all just he's horrible, man. Like, it's just one promo after another that we've already heard in the last year. Like, come up with something new, bro. I thought you're this man that, like, I thought promos were your thing. I felt like that was your strong point. Like, and you're not even you're doing them all over again. It's just redundant. Regarding another thing, people were questioning, is this injury legitimate? Because sure enough, Drew McIntyre hit the ring and there was some physicality there at the end of the segment. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but Punk refused to get physical in AEW when he was, I think it was his foot. Not sure. I digress there, but he refused to get physical until he was completely healed. Like, he went on the record saying he will never put his health under anybody else ever again. So that's kind of weird that he was willing to do that for WWE, or maybe forced to do that in WWE. I agree. The injury did not look, Thomas French, that injury did not, or that bump or whatever you want to call it, did not look bad. It looked like, but then again, maybe we just couldn't really see. Maybe the angle wasn't good. I don't know. Or maybe he's just made out of glass. Maybe he's just fucking made out of glass.
Wolf, I'm gonna comment on what you said and bounce it back to you. You made the reference to bands putting greatest hits compilations together. One of my biggest gripes in music is when a band takes something they've written, and it was so fantastic, and they don't put it on a greatest hits album. They rewrite the song to update it. They re-record it 15 years later, and it never sounds as good as the first recording.
You mean like
Go ahead.
like when a movie comes out with a sequel and there shouldn't have been?
No. I mean like when bands like they update their songs. Like when you take something like "A Wish You Were Here" and you record it in 1973, and then you re-record it again in 2006, so it's modern for the radios. It always sounds like shit. Or like when you do a movie, like Roadhouse. We don't know how that is, how that's going to be because they're redoing.
Like
But like
Hangover. It's like the fucking Hangover 1, 2, and 3.
well,
These CM Punk promos.
it's also
So
like
it's kind of like along the same lines, because I was going to say, like, the original movie Grease is one of my all-time favorites. It's my favorite musical. And then I watched Grease 2, and I'm like, why the fuck did they make this? What a waste of time. I wish I could.
Money.
I could do it. I could do better than that. It's like Evil Dead in the early '80s with Sam Raimi, but then some other fucking schmuck picks it up and redoes the whole movie over in the image of Evil Dead, but it was never Evil Dead because you have to capture the cinematography and the way that the director felt and how it was written and the tone in the movie, and the actors have to be in tune with all of that. And it seems like Punk isn't just playing the greatest hits. It's like he's rewriting it for an audience that never understand the hits to begin with, right?
It's like kids. It's like Kids Bop.
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's like fucking. He's like karaokeing his own fucking songs.
It's like, I
It's
don't want
like
to listen to that shit. I want to listen
yeah.
to the real thing, man.
I'm trying to
Like-
I'm trying to think of a band that got together that has like one original member that's a bassist with three guys that are just it's like going to see Journey with the Asian guy. Like
Yeah.
and he sounds
But-
great.
well,
he's
yeah.
probably the best sounding member of Journey, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But it's
well,
not the
that's-
same as Steve Perry.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
But, well, that's to relate this back to AEW. That's why we love MJF, for example, because, like, whenever he cuts a promo, it's something new. And, like, his
Yeah.
promos that he cut during his feud with Jay White were not the same promos that he was cutting during his feud with Bryan Danielson, for example. Or
True. It's the possibility too, Rollins. Like when CM Punk is on WWE TV, there's absolutely no possibility that he can be CM Punk because WWE will not allow it. So you're taking a watered down character or a watered down personality, wrestling personality, whatever you want to call him, whatever made his money the most, which is his mouth, and you're dumbing it down to a yokel audience and just like and did you guys hear the what chants too? I
yeah,
thought
of
that
course.
was
for,
I
for
thought that was
Drew.
for Drew and CM Punk. Like they were chiming in with the what chants.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
it's just you reap what you sow. Like you went to WWE to make more money, but you gave up your artistry to do that. So I hope you enjoy it, CM Punk.
well, the sad thing is, by the time he gets to WrestleMania, it's going to be like watching an old Spartan warrior. You're sending him off the pasture when you put him in there against a younger guy that needs to go over before him.
Well, here's
So-
also the deal. Like WrestleMania 41, is WWE going to risk booking CM Punk or giving him the journey to a world title match, knowing that the guy can't wrestle without getting hurt? I mean, like that's a huge risk. They've already encountered 4 injuries at this point for WrestleMania 40. I mean,
Seth is injured. Punk
right?
is
Seth,
injured.
Seth can
I
come
know
back.
Seth can come back, yeah.
Yeah, because he was
But-
always relevant to a WWE audience. I'm so sick of hearing I was gone for 10 years. What did you do the whole time? What got you there, and what did you do the whole time you were gone?
Right.
You endorsed the competition because it was shitting on the front line of WWE, and as soon as it was clout for them and money for them to bring you back, I miss you guys. This is my home. Oh my
Yeah,
God, I'm so glad to be home. Shut
I
the fuck
remember
up.
his
forced to say
promo
that.
during when he was in a feud with MJF. CM Punk is, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, if you want to go over to the other brand and wrestle,
The grass is greener. You think the grass is
Yeah, be
greener over
my
there?
guest.
Yeah.
Main event, day 1 of a 3-night spectacular.
Yes,
I'll be
yeah,
here when you come back, and I'll faster than you last in the sack. That was a great line, but it just sucks that it's just not true. and it's just
Yeah.
hypocritical.
Well, the funny thing is that MJF turned around and called him the only straight edge dude that looks like a meth addict.
I know.
That's true.
You're the only straight
Oh,
edge guy
dude.
on earth that looks like a fucking meth addict.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I can't wait till MJF is back on our TV. I can't wait.
There's a lot of there's a lot of people talking about that, how creepy CM Punk comes across now.
Yeah, dude,
You
they're
know,
saying that that
yeah,
Creeper Punk is back in WWE hitting on all the young girls. Poor AJ Lee.
Oh,
yeah,
So,
no teeth in his mouth and
yeah.
eyes sagging.
That was another thing with the Royal Rumble. Everybody thought AJ Lee was going to come back, and she didn't.
yeah, who cares?
Yeah,
Women's Rumble was still awesome. I'm gonna say it plain. That Women's Rumble was awesome.
I do
So,
want to say that Jade looked like a million. I'm happy for Jade because I too Shin with we talked about Jade. Fuck, probably almost every podcast last year that we were participating in. Like we really we talked about her a lot, and we all came up with our own creative ideas on how you can salvage her character. I really do think that this is a good fit. I do think that the WWE machine is better suited for certain performers. Jade's one of them. Brian Pillman Jr. is another. Um, can't really think off the fly here, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's the perfect opportunity for a specific type of wrestler that just needs to kind of need that little direction. So happy for Jade.
We have Thomas French in the comments, new to our live panel. I want to say thanks for showing up to the party. He made a comment that Seth needs to drop the titles and rehab his injuries. Yo, bro, I actually agree with that statement. I want to say that I love Seth Rollins. I preferred him as Tyler Black. His best run was in Ring of Honor. I'm never going to step down from that. He was a little more unrestricted, but everything he's done in WWE has been fantastic. Typically, everything he touches turns to gold. I don't appreciate how they're rebranding Cody Rhodes for his title as opposed to Roman Reigns because it's clear that they're going to pass the torch off to The Rock with Roman and make him head of the table. That the IWC was a buzz this morning. I wasn't going to bring it up here during this pod. I was going to wait to let it cook and see if something happened during SmackDown. But while we're here, that was a big part of the speculative wrestling conversation this morning is Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, Cody versus Seth for night one, which I don't think is giving Cody the end of his story when the story was taking down Roman Reigns. But I get that they could run the cloak and dagger with WWE and change perspectives and people are going to digest it because they're WWE fans. But agreed that Seth needs to drop his title. I'd rather see him drop it to LA Knight. Yeah. So.
By the way, Thomas, if you want, I can put the link to come backstage in the live chat. You can join the show if you want, if you would like to. I think we'd be all right with that. So let us know if that's something you would be interested in. But in the meantime, we're going to move over to,
Pro
Did you
Wrestling
get that?
Tees. Yeah, Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling Tees has been contacted legally to drop all Kazuchika Okada merchandise. That means
So
that
yeah.
means he signed. That means he signed with somebody.
Signed with
So,
somebody, but isn't like AEW wrestlers have tees on Pro Wrestling Tees?
those so God, we could go right back to Punk with this conversation. So remember during Brawl In Brawl Out, how I was like getting it like into the legal logistics of merchandising.
Yeah.
AEW utilizes a service like Pro Wrestling Tees, and a lot of guys in AEW have conditional contracts that allow them to continue to work the indies. Like Colt Cabana is a perfect example. Colt Cabana can sell his merchandise on AEW, shopaew.com, but also Pro Wrestling Tees. MJF can't. MJF,
Danhausen can, right? I think.
Danhausen can, Brody King can,
Yeah.
Britt Baker can't, Brian
Gotcha.
Danielson can't. I mean, like,
That's
John,
interesting. So
yeah, but I think that is to give favor to the people that are still allowed to explore options outside of AEW because Tony Khan gives his talent the opportunity to do that. But but it could be New Japan forcing Pro Wrestling Tees to take it down because they'll still have a license agreement to sell his legacy merch through his transition. Now, I don't think that them taking down his merchandise is indicative of an idea that he's signing with anyone. specifically. But Okada, whoever's got him with as big as he is, definitely knows how to get him on lock. We'll know sooner than later. I think by Revolution, we'll know where Okada is headed. He's still kind of perusing the indie,
For sure.
local, multi-promotional scene. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I don't think he's going to the Fed. I hope. I'm not going to say I don't think anything is possible in this day and age. So, I mean,
Hey,
I
speaking of that, did you hear that Will Ospreay is probably coming to AEW full time starting February 12th?
sure did.
Yeah.
They're going to drop him
Yeah.
from Don Callis' family, but we're going to stick with AEW. The IWC is abuzz over reports of the headliner 2 collision this Saturday where FTR and House of Black faced off in a steel cage match. But what exactly were the terms of this match supposed to be? Brody King responded to a tweet from a former member of this community, airgold_, claiming that it was always supposed to be an escape match, but the card throughout the week claimed otherwise. And Talon is claiming that a member of House of Black refused to work the match under the conditions previously set by booking. I mean, what the fuck does that
I
mean?
don't I don't know. I've been in the Discord server, I've been going back and forth with LaFuron and Volkner about whether this was the final match in the feud. In my opinion, I think it is because a lot of times steel cage matches are used as the blow off match in a feud. So I think, unfortunately, I think this story is done. Personally, I would have saved the steel cage elimination match, whatever you want to call it, for Revolution. But I digress. Uh, yeah, I don't know what all the confusion about it. Like, because Dax Harwood, when he made the challenge, he said 6-man steel cage elimination match. So whether it was an escape the cage match or elimination match, it feels like it's kind of one and the same.
Yeah, I think AEW just has issues sometimes conveying different things like this, for example. I don't think AR Gold was incorrect in calling this out. I don't think that he's saying that AEW misadvertised or didn't advertise the match correctly. I just think he's calling them out, saying, "Hey, you guys really did a good job with this. Like, you know, we kind of as fans want to know or have an expectation of the rules before the match starts." So, the match was great. I agree, Rollins, or I disagree, Rollins. So wait a minute, Rollins. I was half listening. I was reading something. I'll be honest. Are you saying that they're not running that match back at Revolution?
As of right now, I've heard nothing about this match
I
happening again at Revolution. I was saying that, like, I understand that they need to put up a big card to go against the Royal Rumble, but if it were me, I would have saved the steel cage elimination or escape the cage match, whatever. I would have saved that for Revolution. That's what I'm
I
saying.
hear you. I hear you.
Well,
Yeah, I don't think this is the end of their feud. What were you gonna say, Shane?
oh no, I wanted to agree with you, Wolf, but I also wanted to kind of emphasize on the idea that, I mean, what are they really doing with both of these factions or factions, tag team and a faction? I mean, House of Black, they're front runners. Why the fuck are they still jobbing? And FTR hasn't been relevant since. I'm sorry, I hate to be this guy, since their ROH match versus the Briscoes. They haven't done
Yeah,
anything too monumental. I mean, like, can't we redefine what's going on with both of these teams and kind of elevate them to the top instead of allowing a top team to mid out job to a team that shouldn't be jobbing to what's supposed to be one of the greatest tag teams of all time? I mean, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews are 3 of some of the best talents in the locker room. I would like to see them in a program where they're not getting squashed every other week by guys that
for sure.
should be on should be on fucking vacation.
For
I mean,
sure. I yeah.
let me just jump in here super quick, Wolf, and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
Uh, Brody King, even though he didn't make it to the final or the championship match, whatever, I still think he had a great showing in the Continental Classic tournament. And I'm surprised that we didn't build on that and continue to give him like some type of singles push. Like keep Brody, keep Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews as a tag team, and then give Brody King some type of singles push. I would have been fine with that. Have him feud with Miro. Have him feud with Powerhouse Hobbs. You know, um, have him feud with Wardlow. Oh, I know I'm naming all the big guys, but those are. It's just because those are the names that are first coming to my mind. But why not?
Wolf, go off. Go off. I want to comment on something Thomas French said, but I'm gonna let you take all the time that you need, bud.
Sure. I won't be long. I just want to say real quick. Yeah, I agree, Rollins. Like, I think the House of Black as a trios has kind of run its course for the time being. I'll say for the time being. I'm not saying you can't revisit it later down the road, but I think people are more interested in seeing either a Malachi Black singles run, a Brody King singles run, or even a Buddy Matthews singles run at this point. Like, we want, and then the other two can pair off and maybe even win or a tag team title. And that's another issue, is like the tag team championship are pretty much handcuffed. And we know what's going to happen with it, but ultimately it's been handcuffed on the wrong tag team. Like Ricky Starks, Big Bill, as much as they made that mean more than what we expected them to, it should have always been on FTR's shoulders, in my opinion, and defended throughout this feud with House of Black. I'll defer back to you, Shane. Sorry.
So Thomas French in the comments said, "How do you feel about the news that Black and Buddy are trying to get out of their contracts?" Hey, did they say that? No.
No.
And even if they fucking did, they're both signed until 2027 with AEW, so they could cry about being in their contracts like Andrade did all they want to. No, they're not leaving a day before it's over.
I
So
got something to say on that. Yeah, Malachi called out Dave Meltzer on his bullshit in the past. So I think Dave Meltzer's got a hard on for Malachi. Like, he's saying these House of Black guys, they never do jobs. Well, fucking Buddy Matthews is 1-6 in singles. Brody King lost the C2. We saw him lose. Malachi Black, I mean, I can't honestly remember him losing a match recently, but I can't honestly remember any singles matches with him at all. You know?
his
So like,
last singles match was in 2022.
was it for real? Well, geez, oh man, like, how could you honestly sit there?
He had a couple singles matches against Cody Rhodes. I remember that.
2 years ago. So like, I really do think that Dave Meltzer, like, for for all the grief that the fans like do give him, like, this is one that people really need to go after him for, because I think he's just full of shit. He's just doesn't. He's got like I said, he's got a hard on for Malachi Black because Malachi called him out on his bullshit a year and a half ago when he was on his hiatus for whatever undisclosed reason that it's none of our business. Like, just anyway, that's my opinion.
Let me just say this super, super quick. I know All In was a while back, but I loved the tribute that House of Black did before their Trios Championship match against the Acclaimed for Bray Wyatt with the fireflies and the lantern and all that. I thought that was really touching and beautiful.
Yeah.
Because whether you liked Bray Wyatt or not, he was revolutionary in the way he did his characters and all that. Who else could have come up with something like the Fiend or the Firefly Funhouse? So I like that the House of Black paid tribute to him prior to their match. I just wanted to say that.
It's touching. I have to comment on something Wolf said in terms of Dave Meltzer. It's really put up or shut up with these independent news sources for professional wrestling. They're doing a lot of talking like we talk. We come up here, we speculate, but we come out and we're transparent. Hey, we don't know. We're not going to speculate. I'm not talking to Malachi Black or Buddy Matthews. Yeah, we don't have sources. I mean, we know, we could observe, we could make educated guesses. It's always going to be an educated guess, but you have the responsibility to be transparent both as a talent and a reporter. If these guys weren't leaving AEW and they heard something like that, they have all of the right in the world to hop on their socials and be like, I never fucking said that. At the same time, Dave Meltzer needs to confirm his sources when he's calling these guys out instead of just saying, it looks this way, or I heard through the grapevine, because the grapevine in professional wrestling is built through kayfabe, and kayfabe is fake, and it's all bullshit, and we're watching entertainment. Like at the end of the day, we're watching grown men fake fight each other in Spartan death matches.
Yeah.
Like,
Thomas French is even saying the last singles match he can remember for Malachi Black was against Cody Rhodes.
I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and act like these guys haven't won matches or had bangers. And I don't think they're jobbing either, because they're winning as much as they're losing, other than Buddy, who's being used as a job factory. And he's probably the most capable professional wrestler between the three of them.
I would argue that's Brody King, but
that's opinions, and I respect yours. I've seen Buddy Matthews wrestle in New Japan, and he's a little more unhinged, a little less than scripted. It's good to watch. And Black did disclose, it wasn't undisclosed, that he was considering retirement in favor of him and Selena Vega running a wrestling and an MMA training school in South Florida. He said, I was going to do that. I might not ever be able to come back because I could have a life debilitating injury, but the addiction to the game brought him back. Not to mention, and TK came out and said this during the MJF work, when MJF sat on his hands while he was injured. He was also working for the the Von Erich movie as well, but that if you're going to choose to sit, you're also choosing to not get paid. So like he could, these guys, it's the Wild West in AEW. We know this much. They're doing their own creative. If they wanted to win, all they have to do is propose a scenario in which it looks better for the audience, and they're back in the good graces.
I mean, we've seen what the House of Black can do when they're allowed to just be the House of Black. Like, remember the trios title match they had against Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks at Revolution? That was one of the best matches I've ever seen. I'm not saying it was the best, but in AEW, I would say that's one of the best matches ever. And it's a perfect example of what Brody King, Malachi Black, and Buddy Matthews can do. Like, if you give them the freedom to just go out there and be who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Best match in AEW. That's subjective.
I said it's one of. I didn't say it is the best.
Being that there were probably a little over 20 trios matches on main AEW television last year, I'd say that's probably one of the better one of the best trios matches. Now we all know the best tag match of last year involved one of the team's factions that we were discussing in this conversation. It wasn't the House of Black. But we're going to stick with AEW. We're going to move on to a segment on a Collision where Swerve Strickland picked the dealer match for Hangman and Page, and his pick was a member of the Mongol Embassy. The Hangman of AEW is poised to lock horns with Toa Leona, the former Ring of Honor 6-man champion, this Wednesday in a match to determine who qualifies for a title match against AEW's current champion, Samoa Joe. I'm not going to talk this one to death. That's fucking stupid. Go ahead, Rollins.
I mean, the flip side is Hangman hasn't said who Swerve Strickland's opponent is going to be, so we'll find that out tomorrow. So I'm a little bit disappointed because I won't be able to watch Dynamite tomorrow because I have to work the Cavaliers game against the Detroit Pistons. But Darius Garland is supposed to come back from injury. So that's
so is CM Punk in 9 months.
Sorry,
RIP
Darius Garland.
WrestleMania.
Sorry, Darius Garland is more important because he could help the Cavaliers make a playoff push and possibly a championship, although the Boston Celtics and Denver Nuggets will have something to say about that.
We're talking real sports right now, Rollins, not sports entertainment.
Anyway, I digress. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this. Like I said on Dynamite, last week I thought maybe Hangman was going to choose Claudio Castagnoli because of the way Claudio just went right at Hangman, and the two of them had an absolute war on Dynamite back in Jacksonville. So I thought Hangman would show Claudio that respect and be like, go do that same thing to Swerve, but that's obviously not happening. So Hangman's going to win, and we're probably going to end up getting the triple threat match at Revolution, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you're probably right. I myself was wrong at least with one of my picks. I don't think I'm going to be right with my other either because I had picked Brian Cage as Swerve's choice of opponent for Hangman, and I picked excuse me, John Moxley as Hangman's choice of opponent for Swerve, and we both know that Moxley's wrestling Jeff Hardy tomorrow, so that's not happening.
Ooh.
So yeah, I don't really have too much of an opinion on this. I definitely agree with Rollins just based off of how the card looks for tomorrow. I think that both men are going to win the match, and just we're going to get a triple threat at Revolution. Otherwise, who is this mystery opponent? I don't know, man.
I would
think it's interesting that we are getting these matches, and the rankings are coming back.
I mean, the rankings are supposed to be back already. I'm going to comment on we're going to digress. First of all, in terms of what Wolf said, I hope that Jeff Hardy doesn't relapse before he makes his ring entrance tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we'll get an actual match out of him where he's
We
not
don't need
complaining
any
about.
more. Yeah, we don't need any more scandals in wrestling.
Yeah, no. Well, I would be happier to just see a week where Jeff Hardy isn't on social media complaining about how he's being booked because he's being put against the top guy in
I have a
AEW.
suspicion a lot of that's work, but
It's probably work.
Isn't
It's always
this
a work.
the third straight match Jeff Hardy's been against a high-profile guy? Like this week, he was facing John Moxley. I think he faced Swerve last week, and I think he was in another high-profile match the week before that.
Keeping him relevant. They're keeping him relevant for the inevitable Young Bucks. Once the Young Bucks beat Darby and Sting for the titles, I can see them moving on against the Hardys and retiring the Hardys. I think that's where that's going.
That
I
match
don't think
would be so bad.
I think that they're running a Hardys take back the company angle. Oh, not the Hardys, a Young Bucks take back the company angle right now, and the Hardys are trying to go on a farewell tour because between the two of them, Matt looks like Mummy straight out the coffin in a 60s black and white movie every time he's fucking deleting people. So I love Matt Hardy because at this point with Matt Hardy now, I feel like it's time to like let him enter a full-time on screen but out of ring role. In terms of Jeff actually looks good, man. His Darby match wasn't bad. He just, he believes, and he always has, and you could see this, back from TNA, that he has more to offer than he's actually willing to give. And he's given a lot. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I mean, his personals have always never allowed him to be better than he thinks he is. And in terms of this, I mean, I'm sure that him talking is a work. Maybe this is me being a cynic. Maybe I'm over analyzing Jeff Hardy as a person, and this is Jeff Hardy the character, and he's really a good guy in real life. Maybe I'm sounding a little like Jim Cornette right now, which is awful, but he's just if this is not his last run, it's time for him to hang up the boots too, because he's one swanton dive away from displacing his spine for the rest of his life. And I'd like to see at least a couple more bangers out of him. Al Neri in the comments, like mysteriously Punk returns and screws Cody out of the main event. No, that's what The Rock did to Cody, not Punk. That's what The Rock did. Punk was going to have a main event. I honestly believe that this is just the perfect storm of bullshit for WWE, and they're just throwing audibles. Obviously not as good as CJ Stroud, but but they're just throwing audibles and seeing what sticks. They have a lot of guys that are seriously injured, and WrestleMania is going to, post WrestleMania, is going to put these guys out and off screen for a while. So they're kind of working with what they have. Now, Brent is here as well. Okada
up,
could
Brent?
just be a free agent and sign events for different parties. Has that ever been a thing in wrestling? Yeah, for AEW, New Japan, TNA, GCW, GCN, CMLL, and AAA, but not for the Fed. I think that TNA and WWE only fly under the banner of Endeavor, I think, but they've also done TNA and WWE before during the Rumble. They did Mickey James. So, I mean, I don't think Okada would. I don't like Triple H said it during the press conference. He made a comment about Forbidden Door, the concept being stupid. Unless it's something that WWE is doing and they have control over it, they're not endorsing it. They don't control Endeavor. Endeavor might have been like they had a working agreement with TNA before. It could be a part-time thing. They said that they were
See,
going to see it again. It's not going to be
that
cross.
comment from Triple H pissed me off so much because coming from the WWE, who would, if you allow them to, would rename the days of the week and months in the year. They brand everything, and they have the nerve to like take a jab at the Forbidden Door. Fuck
Well,
them.
we're gonna get into so let's put a cap on Swerve Strickland really quick. Yeah, the totally we know who's gonna win this. We guessed on who it was gonna be for Hangman next week. We know it's not gonna be Mox. Still have the vote is still out for Osprey. It could still happen if they're gonna wait till tomorrow to announce it. Fingers crossed that it's someone bigger than Tolioa. Not that he's not talented, but he's surely not a face at AEW. In terms of Triple H, man, we're gonna move on to the last segment. Our community of fans, we all met in a strange place and time in pro wrestling fandom. Our little corner of the internet has always been committed to upholding the idea that we are free to engage in all aspects and ideas revolving and involving.
Oh no, Shane, I think you froze.
Yeah, Shane, I think your screen froze.
That can be a double-edged sword. Am I getting booted by
Oh, oh,
WWE? Sometimes we have to discuss the bad stuff. Last week, news broke of a incredibly massive scandal, including that broke, the Vincent Kennedy McMahon and exposed him for things that he's been doing that aren't secrets in the industry for the better part of 30 years. Now, I wanted this segment to be more of a preview into a small series that our community is going to be rolling out in regards to, this subject, the timeline and people that could be involved, how this is going to affect the greater wrestling communities, how this affects the WWE, how it kind of, cheapens the history of the product and how his face is kind of, like we're talking about something that's Epstein grade awful, I know everyone here, Rollins, I know you want to be far removed from these pods. That I respect. Wolf and I are basically spearheading most of these chats. But, in terms of the Triple H comment, I'm in the same position as you are. Like, and then to admit in the same panel that you didn't read the deposition, like you didn't have to read it because you probably knew everything that was in it. And
you
and
know
then
you read it because Brock Lesnar was pulled last minute. Like you fucking read it. So
Yeah,
just be
yeah,
honest and forthcoming. I mean,
that's
that's
the
part of the
part.
problem. You're dishonest.
yeah,
That's the part where I do want to get in on the conversation. Like I said, I don't want to touch on all the major stuff, but I do want to talk about the Brock Lesnar part of it
shoot.
because it has since come out that Braun Breaker did everything that Brock Lesnar was supposed to do in the Royal Rumble, and it was supposed to be Gunther versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And of course, now that's not happening. So it does leave a lot of questions. Like what's going to happen with Gunther at WrestleMania and the Intercontinental Championship. I know we kind of talked about that earlier, but like even though I don't really like how Brock Lesnar is used in WWE, a lot of people do. He comes in for his big feuds and then he leaves. You know, he's still a big name that's going to bring in tickets and people are going to want to put their butts in seats to see Brock Lesnar. So it's like that's a big hole that I think WWE is gonna have to fill.
I mean, it really boils down to separating the art from the artist, right? They talked about. I want to go all the way back to like the '90s. They talked about the plane ride from hell and Brock Lesnar and how he was fresh in the company and how right off the rip he was treated like he was a made man in the mob. Chris Jericho has spoken about this several times during his podcast. You couldn't talk to Brock Lesnar because he was a protected man the entire time. I mean, Brock Lesnar was a part of the plane ride up, part of what made the plane ride from hell such a point of contention for that event. I mean, he was aggressive. He was up there thinking he could do whatever the fuck that he want. You know, it's in terms of just Lesnar, he was ousted directly in regards to what Vince was being exposed to. I think it's WWE's responsibility to be transparent with its fans and families as to who and what Brock Lesnar is and how he will affect that product moving forward. I mean, don't just fucking ghost him. That's what they did for the Rumble. No explanation. He's going to be there. Oh, no, he's not. Why is that? Well, he was ousted for committing a sex offense. Well, then fucking say it. Don't be a pussy. The AEW people have been like when fucking Jimmy Havoc, Johnny Havoc, whatever the fuck his name was being ousted during Me Too.
Mhm.
Tony Khan came out and said, "Hey, this guy was ousted. He's got some personal demons. He's got some addiction issues. We're sending him to rehab. We will reassess his position in this company. You know, post rehabilitation. The dude didn't go through with the rehab, didn't get any psych training. Now he's an office clerk. The Darby Allin was ousted too. What did Darby do? He got sober. He went and they never, I'm saying it, and it's the truth. Darby was ousted, plain and simple. I can't see the inner working of a tumultuous relationship. I've been there before. Whatever happened with him in that relationship might
What
have been a
about
little
Moxley? Kind of the same thing.
Moxley the same. Mox was an alcoholic that was beating up his girlfriend. After he was ousted, he got sober. He got help. He confronted his demons. He said, "I'm above all of this." A WWE is still hiding this stuff for their talent. They have active offenders on their roster right now. Right now, as we speak. And the only time they get written out of that reality is when there is irrefutable and irredeemable proof that they committed the offense that they did. They haven't called Brock Lesnar by name. When they do, which they will.
What do you
It is
think of this comment by Thomas French saying they use Brock like they used late stage Undertaker?
yeah. The late stage Undertaker started during American Badass Undertaker, like 2003, 2004, and it never stopped being late staged. He went back to being the dead man 3 times in that term, but he was working the whole time harder than Brock Lesnar was, who was also in and out. That was around the time that Lesnar was back to MMA. So yeah, I agree with that statement. They used the
Yeah.
Undertaker. Yeah, the Undertaker
Yeah,
just
Brock's
became
an attraction. Brock's an attraction, and WWE's relied heavily on Brock throughout the last 10 years just to pop a rating.
Exactly.
So I mean that trick is, I mean, it was kind of starting to grow
Wear
old
thin.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of time to move on to the next you know way to do that. I
Yeah.
can't think. But yeah, I ultimately I'm not really gonna discuss much on this. This is more of a preview, but I agree with Shane. There's a lot to uncover.
You know
And
what it
we're
does make me wonder though, this whole situation?
what's that?
Do you think that Dana White, president of the UFC, could see this and turn his back on the WWE?
Nope, they
I
own
don't
it.
think he can, because
Yeah.
he's technically, unless Dana White wants to walk away from UFC, he's an employee of TKO Endeavor, so he can't
Oh,
technically unassociate himself with the WWE. But I can see it, I mean, that was part of the appeal too of this partnership. You had Brock Lesnar, you had CM Punk, but you had Bobby Lashley, you had people that kind of bounced between MMA, or UFC rather, and WWE. And the biggest star of all time to cross promote is no longer on the table. I wonder what that means for, how that sits with TKO, Ari, Emmanuel. I mean, that's got to really sting, because I'm sure that was a major, not a major, but a big part of the reason why he wanted to do this deal, other than
Okay,
money and
so
greed.
let me rephrase the question then, based on that information. Do you think that this whole situation with Vince McMahon could cause TKO to break down and WWE and UFC end up going their separate ways? Or do you
Well,
think
no, because again, it's kind of, you have, what is that? A holding company? What is that technically classified as? TKO. I mean, they're a, it's tip of my tongue. Anyway, no, I don't think there might not be much of the muddying of the waters, because maybe they want to keep UFC away from WWE. I can see that point of view, but there's no way that you can't disassociate the two, because they're owned by the same people. Um, but bottom line is this: I think there's a lot more of information that's going to be released this week from specifically CNN. CNN has been taking this story and really running with it. They've uncovered the fact that Vince McMahon was retained on Endeavor's payroll, despite Endeavor and Ari Emanuel's open knowledge of these past deeds. Um, why is that? Well, I'm sure we're going to find out why. I do have a hunch. I'll save it for our podcast. Additionally, um, there's just so much to really discuss here. You're talking about one instance of an NDA of a 3 million, which was paid out in 1 million, but yeah, 3 million payout. There's $17 million in NDAs from the past 20 years. I think
17.3, baby.
17.3.
Yeah.
If you
So
look at these various instances, there's a timetable for that. There's also a timetable with regards to how WWE operated with their talent cuts. I think there's a correlation there. There's just of a lot of breaking the law, that's going to be uncovered throughout all of this. I don't, this was a civil suit. It may continue to be a civil suit based off of Vince McMahon's comments that he's going to fight like hell or whatever to clear his name. I don't see how that's even possible. Of course not. But there's criminal accusations being made, so we could see a lot more information. I think we're going to get a lot more information this week. So
it is the responsibility, and we're going to move on to the count out after this, gentlemen. Wolf, thank you so much for your comments on that, because we really could go off the cuff on this. We've been discussing it ad nauseum on the main page, and I don't want to burden Rollins with being forced into engaging this conversation. I
oh,
know,
for sure.
I know
Yeah.
everything we do in our community is voluntary, and in terms of the semantics, I wanted to leave that to people that volunteered to have engage in this conversation. So out of respect, all I'm going to kind of note on that is it is the responsibility for WWE to engage this from a perspective of understanding and healing, as opposed to hiding in subterfuge. From this point on, they should undertake the idea that whatever undertake that that
nice pun?
that they have to embrace the worst parts of whatever comes out of this. I think that's the only way as a company that they'll be able to rehabilitate and move forward, and then structure it in a way that anyone connected to Vincent McMahon, anyone that's named in this, has to be so far removed from WWE as to never be involved with the product again whatsoever. Not just to hold them accountable for what they've done, but to prevent anyone else from infecting the wrestling as a whole, to have ever
Or
allowed this to,
society.
yeah, or society.
Society.
Yeah, I mean, this is a multifaceted statement. Throughout the years, we've found, politicians, churches have, celebrities have perpetuated the fraud, hidden in plain sight, and used and abused. We need to kind of like get together as a, not just a community of fans, but as actual humans, and kind of not just protest that, but kind of, stand against it. But obviously, that this segment was built to allude to the idea that we're going to be doing some one-off podcasts, some roundtables, if you will, that where me, Wolf, and a handful of other guys are going to kind of talk about this. We're going to go with the facts, stay away from the speculations, and kind of just deconstruct everything that's going on in real time. As Wolf said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, man. It sickens me to even try to attempt to conceive what's at the bottom of it. But we're going to move along to our final segment for the evening, and I want to thank our panel members, Wolf and Rollins, of course, yeah, or myself, because I'm not a host, I'm just a dude that's here. You guys are always dedicated to showing up and engaging in these conversations. We to the people that actually were here to view us and join us in chat and bounce off of us. Thank you so much, Thomas. Welcome to the party. Ari, thank you for commenting today. Um, for in terms of the count out, there's nothing that I really wanted to go over. I wanted to kind of go back to the second topic of CM Punk and say, I never want to see anyone get injured. The Punk thing burned me. I spent a greater part of my last year deconstructing his situation. I wore a tinfoil hat for a very long time, but he's a human too. And I know Punk the person and Punk the character are not too far removed, and he's always going to be a hypocrite, but he's a hypocrite with the place, and he's doing some good. He was genuine and how he spoke on the Make-A-Wish shit last night and his buddy with cancer and everything he does for the LGBTQT community. When people engage these topics, keep in mind that these performers are human, and even although they can be assholes, that they have the power to do just as much good as they can bad. And get well soon. For as much as you're fucking assholes, Phil Brooks, get well soon, buddy. Good luck at WrestleMania next year. Go ahead, Rollins.
So first of all, I want to echo what you said, Shane. I want to thank everybody who commented in the live chat. So Thomas French, Shane Spone. Hopefully, I'm saying your last name correctly.
Oh, fuck you, dude.
uh,
It's Spawn. It's Spawn. It's like John with an SP.
oh, got it. Al Neri and Brent as well. And then for my count out, I'm kind of disappointed that they did Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw last night, because I thought that would be a great WrestleMania program and a subsequent match. But the fact that they just did it on regular Monday Night Raw, I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I feel like that takes a little bit of the steam out of it. I'm like, what? Don't do it on Raw. Save it for WrestleMania. Then you can really dig into the feud and go all out with it. So I'm disappointed about that.
All right. I really, like I've said in the past, when we get to the end of the show, I really don't know what to say. I don't really think that much ahead. I just want to kind of reiterate the importance and necessity that AEW brings to the wrestling industry and landscape in North America. I think that having one monopoly is just such a bad thing to have. Like, we need the options. So even if you're not a fan of WWE, or if you're not a fan of AEW, just respect that. It's good to have these different options, because you never know. Maybe a month, a year down the road, you might become a fan of the company that you don't seem to enjoy presently for whatever reason. It's good for business. It's good for the wrestlers. We need to respect the wrestlers and everything they sacrifice to entertain us. And that's not just their health, that's their mental health, that's their time away from their family. That's, it's all encompassed. So they sacrifice a lot to, granted, it's a dream job for them, but they do sacrifice a lot to entertain us, and we want the best conditions for them to work in an industry that allows them to get compensated the most amount of money. So with that being said, I pass it back to Shane.
All right, guys. Great pod tonight, gentlemen. I want to thank our panel again for the third time. You guys are diehards for the community. For those of you that don't know the community, we're a collaboration of, all corners of wrestling fandom. We're kind of like a hub of sorts where we all get together and communicate via Discord, Blue Sky, and here on YouTube about our love for the sport of professional wrestling and the
As
entertainment
well,
aspect,
as well as the UFC.
as well as the UFC and occasionally the NFL and NHL and MLB during peak seasons, the NBA as well. For those of you that commented tonight, if you want to keep the conversation going, you're welcome to join us on Discord. The link is in our description. We tend to be pretty active, and if you guys want to stay up to date on anything that we're doing with podcasting news or roundtables, hit the subscribe button. Click on the alerts. That's what YouTube has told us to say if we want to stay relevant, though we don't care if we do or don't. And with that being said, gentlemen, until our next one, good night, farewell, and bang.
There you go. Enjoy Dynamite tomorrow. Looks like it should be a good episode.
SmackDown on Friday.